Jordan.
Ian.
Who is a 7 on the sexy scale and oddly has the same number of testicles between them?
Katie Hopkins?
No, two guys. What's up? Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2 of Two Guys What's Up. My name is Ian and I am joined by my good friend and glorious leader, Jordan. My lord, hello.
Hello, sire.
No, I'm the little underling.
Right, okay, yeah. Hello, pleb.
Thank How do you know my birth name? How are you today, anyway?
I'm good. I've got a full stomach of Pizza Hut Texas barbecue chicken and bacon pizza.
God, you know how to make a guy jealous.
Oh, yeah. How are you?
I am... still sick.
You sound really good.
I am still sick. Oddly enough, since the last time we spoke, when I said I was sick, I was actually sicker than I thought I was. So I thought I just had a cold. Turns out I've caught some virus from my son.
Oh, is that actually what happened then?
Well, that's what we're going on, but I've had to go and give blood and everything to doctors so they can check it all out and stuff. But that night that I said I felt sick, I went to bed, had a proper good sleep, sweated it all out. My wife actually said it was like sleeping next to a hairy fish.
I mean, she normally says that though, doesn't she?
Yeah, that is a general description of me. Oh, what's your husband like?
It's all scaly.
Hairy fish. Not a lot of people know. I am 90% hair because I have a giant beard and big hair. But apparently I was just sweating all night and she said she couldn't come near me. And when she got out of bed the next day, because I was like a radiator, she was freezing.
Really?
Yeah. But
I mean, pond life.
Pond life.
Hashtag aquatic life.
So after that, I thought I was fine, thought I was on the mend, and then I woke up the next day with a rash and bumps and spots all over my hands and my face, and so I'm just a bit buggered, really. I've been off work.
Oh dear.
But hopefully I'm healing now. Hopefully the doctors will tell me what's going on.
Yeah, unfortunately you had to cancel one of your gigs, didn't you, because of it too?
Did, yeah.
It was due yesterday.
Yeah, our band was supposed to be having a reunion gig because we haven't played together in about 10 years, and we were supposed to be having a reunion yesterday, and then literally 2 days before it had to get cancelled because my hands felt like sandpaper and I just couldn't play. Couldn't hold a stick.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, not at all.
As a drummer, that's your kryptonite now, isn't it?
Yeah. If anything happens to my hands... Well, now I'm a podcaster, so it doesn't matter, does it?
That's true.
All I need is one finger to be able to hit record.
Worst case, just get your big toe out.
I thought you were going to say something else then.
Oh dear. We've peaked too early.
I'm looking at you, and I saw you go, just get something. Look down. Okay, anyway.
Moving swiftly forward.
Oh, by the way, just before we move on, I just want to point out that I have an average number of testicles. It's Jordan that has the extra 5.
I did have that other one removed.
6 was too many. So today we have a special episode for you in which we are going to be going through some of our personal paranormal experiences, and I believe Jordan has one for me that I have never heard before, so I'm very much looking forward to hearing that one.
Ooh.
For the first time along with you guys at home, and I'm hoping that you, Jordan, will also hear some spooky tales from me that you've maybe not heard before, otherwise this might be quite boring for you.
I hope so too.
For you it'll be 45 minutes of recycled yammer, but for hopefully you listening at home, you will enjoy the ride, so let's get into it.
Yeah, alright. So, Ian, I understand that you've lived in quite a few places.
Fair amount.
Around the world, actually.
Actually, yeah, correct.
I understand that some are slightly scarier than others, but one jumps out to me above all on the kind of spooky list, given that it was in a graveyard.
Yes.
But that is where you grew up, wasn't it, from a young age?
Yeah, I grew up, my parents moved there when I was 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I lived there until, well, I don't really want to say what age I moved out.
Sometime later.
So a little bit later in life, yes.
But let's not actually start there, though. Let's start from the beginning, work our way up to that point.
Good idea.
So you were telling us last week how you were woken up when you were a lot younger by your brother after he heard you screaming, and you were saying that you had a strange pain in your head, but you had absolutely no recollection of it at all.
Correct.
So at that time, were there any other strange occurrences that happened?
I think the only other experience that I remember from that time, this was when I lived in Italy, by the way. I lived in a place called Cagliari in Sardinia. We were driving home from this place that all the British people that lived there went to. It's called the Beaumont Club. We were driving home, and my parents noticed out the sunroof that there was a light following us. I don't remember so well because I was very young. All I remember is them saying that it was, as we turned a corner, it turned as well.
That's odd.
Yeah, super strange. Like a red light. So as we turned, it turned with us. But yeah, that's all I remember from that time.
I mean, that does sound slightly UFO-ish, doesn't it? And
Yeah, it sounds very UFO, yeah.
given your fear of aliens, that must have been pretty scary.
It was pretty horrific, yeah. To be honest, I remember leaning forward to ask them what was going on. They pointed it out, and I just remember sitting back thinking, well, that's it. They're here now. They've come for me. I'm done for.
Little did you know, it was true.
Yeah, they came for me that night.
But did anything else happen?
No, nothing else that I can remember from that time.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure my brother and my parents might have some more stories, but I was, like I say, I was very young at the time, about 6 or 7, so...
Well, you say you don't remember. That's probably because the aliens just wiped your memory.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Okay, so from then, what was your next stop?
After there, not a lot really happened that I can remember. It wasn't until we actually moved to the graveyard that a lot of stuff started happening, and I think that's because my interest in it peaked a bit more.
Okay, so I mean, that is where the fun really begins, because I know a couple of these stories, and you are in for a little bit of a treat, anyone that's listening. But I just kind of want you to go mad right now and just tell us some tales from the hauntings that you've had in your past.
Okie dokie, let me think. Nothing really happened, actually.
Okay, brilliant. End of.
End of. Thanks, guys.
Episode 2 done.
No, yeah, there was a fair amount of stuff that happened in that house. The one thing that I really remember is we had a lot of sort of like noises that went on and things like that, and we didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then a friend of mine from school, his mum had some friends who were paranormal investigators, and one of them claimed to be a psychic.
Okay.
And they came to the house and they took some videos. They went from room to room telling us what was going on and stuff like that. And it was all very interesting. So the craziest thing that happened to me, when I first moved to that house, I was seeing this guy, and he looked like maybe 6 foot tall guy in a hooded cloak. And I could never see his face. It was just like a solid black sort of thing.
Ooh.
And
was that like literally solid, like you saw an outline? Was it slightly fuzzy to the sides? Could you...
It was only ever a glimpse I saw of him. It was only ever like out the corner of my eye, and then when I turned
like
to look... Yeah. So, I mean, all I remember is like a black shape, but it was like shaped like a person stood up with a hood up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's very odd.
So the one time I remember seeing him the most is I was sat doing my hair in our hallway downstairs, and behind me is where our stairs were that led to the second floor, and I just looked above me and I saw the entity sat on the stairs peering at me.
That's creepy.
Yeah, so I instantly turned around and saw nothing, and I was just like, I've seen him again, this is getting really weird. And yes, I saw him a few times.
So did you see him through like the mirror then or something? Or...
Yeah, I saw him in the mirror, the reflection in the mirror, and then
Right.
whipped around and he was gone.
That's weird.
When these paranormal hunters came in, the lady who was the psychic, or claimed to be the psychic, was walking around the house getting a feel for it, sort of taking it all in, and the first thing she said was, she came up to me and she was like, "Excuse me," and I was only 12 or 13. She looked at me and she was like, "Are you seeing someone following you around the house?" And I was like, yeah. And she was like, "Wearing a black cloak?" And I was like, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And she was like, just don't worry about it. It's just the old caretaker. He's just wandering around doing his job and he wonders who you are. So he's just trying to make sure that you're not doing anything you shouldn't be. And I was like, oh, okay.
Did you say to tell her to get him to sod off? Mind his own damn business.
That was his business. There is a funny story about that later, but I'll tell you that in a bit. But no, I never saw the security guard after that.
Really? So after you spoke to the paranormal lady,
Yeah.
you never saw that figure again?
No, never saw him again.
Wow. So maybe she did in her own way tell him to sod off.
Yeah, she must have had a little mental conversation, just be like, "Look, pal, he lives here. You're a ghost."
End of. And he was like, yeah, okay.
All right, fair enough.
Oh, well, I thought my shift was over.
Yeah, he's been working for thousands of years. It's like,
I thought this is some long overtime.
yeah, better be getting paid for this, or I'm going to be talking to union. Some other things that happened with these paranormal people was they went into our upstairs bathroom, and she said she picked up 2 presences in that room, and she said one was a person who had died in that room.
In the bathroom?
In the bathroom, yeah. It used to be a bedroom, apparently.
Ah, okay.
They said that the people who used to live there took in their friend and converted that into the bedroom so he could live there. And he had respiratory problems, and that's what he died of, ultimately. And she said that my mum's dad was in that house because he'd passed, and he was in that house, and he'd latched onto this gentleman in the bathroom because they died of similar things. They're very strange. And we were like, oh, okay, yeah, right, fair enough. And then she said some things which kind of rung true with us. And the woman said he plays golf a lot up there. And apparently my parents bought them golf clubs for Christmas once and they never used them. So he said that, oh, I'm actually playing golf now. And he said, oh, at least they can cook over here. The woman said that to my mum. She's saying, he's saying, at least they can cook over here? You know, like questioning it. And my mum was like, that little bastard. Apparently my granddad used to always tease my mum that she couldn't cook.
Right, okay.
And funnily enough, the very next day, my mum was making homemade pizzas and she said, you know, just to the ether, she was like, I'll show you who can fucking cook. And then at that moment, the oven went, blew up.
No way.
Yeah, just stopped working, conked out, died.
Oh, I never heard that before. That's quite sweet, oddly, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But also, that's really infuriating too for your mum trying to make pizzas.
Yeah, destroying your house from beyond the grave. What a guy.
That fatherly love. I don't know. Do you think she'd find that comforting?
I think so, because I think in my mum's mind, it might have backed up the thought. Because if somebody said to you, oh, they play golf over there, anyone could go, oh, well, maybe they've taken up golf in the afterlife or whatever. You know, you could probably pin that on anyone. But for that to happen gave my mum a little bit more comfort.
It's oddly sweet, isn't it? But also very, very strange.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how I'd react, but...
That is totally my granddad thing to do. He was a grumpy old bastard.
Nice.
In a loving way.
Yes, of course, yeah.
He was the type of person that refused to go to hospital. He was having an asthma attack one time, and the ambulance came to take him to hospital. He was like, "F*** off, I'm not going to hospital. I'm going to stay in my own house. Get out." Kicked him out.
So was your granddad Scottish as well?
No, he was from Yorkshire.
Ah, okay, so proper Yorkshire lad.
So he was born in Doncaster, I believe.
Was he channeling you then? Is that what it sounded like?
Yeah, that was his voice coming through me. In that very same bathroom, actually, there was something very strange that happened to me. So, you know, like when you hear a noise, you hear it and you're like, what's that? And then it stops before you have time to really investigate. I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth and I started hearing this noise like a door creaking, but none of the doors in my house creaked. And I started brushing my teeth and I heard this noise and I stopped. And I looked around and it was still going, and I had time to step back, look at my cupboard, look at the cupboard above me, open the door and look outside, and it was still going. And then it just stopped, and I was like, what in the hell was that noise? And I have absolutely no explanation for it.
Was anyone else around at the time that could have been, or...?
My brother had moved out, and my parents were in bed, I think, and it was just me up.
Okay.
But even so, it went on for far too long for it to have been a door, and at the end of it, there was no doosh, like a door had opened into something or anything.
Yeah.
So it was very strange.
I've visited there a few times. There are some kind of creepy vibes about it, but it doesn't feel ominous.
I think that's half the reason is because my parents have made it that way.
Possibly. I mean, I'll just try and set the scene a little bit here. If you imagine walking into this house that sat essentially in a graveyard.
Yep.
Isn't it?
It is.
So this was the old kind of caretaker's house, I guess?
It used to be the...
Groundskeeper?
Yeah, like the groundskeepers, and then it went to the council.
Right.
And then it became a private residence.
Got you. So, yeah, you walk into the front door, you've got the hallway and stairs and a couple of rooms off to the side, and you effectively see, like, skeletons, and I seem to remember maybe a creepy photo or portrait. I might be wrong.
Yeah, it's one of those creepy portraits you can get.
Jokey things, isn't it?
Yeah, where from one angle it's like a lovely Victorian person, and then you walk past it and it's like a spooky ghoul face.
Yeah,
and...
it's like a hologramish kind of thing, isn't it? And
yeah,
a bit odd. But I've never felt uneasy in there, shall we say? Like, I've stayed over at your house before, your parents' house before, and although, yeah, it's a little creepy, and we've certainly spent many early hours of the morning drinking and chatting and
playing with cards,
talking about this kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely, as you do. And I've never once felt like, oh yeah, I don't like the feel of this though.
Yeah,
it's never felt ominous.
No, I mean, when we first moved to that house, we didn't have any furniture or anything like that, so we were just sort of sat on our living room floor watching this little box TV because everything else was in transit. The only thing we had taken with us was beds. So we were sat eating our Chinese takeaway because we didn't have a kitchen.
Was that because of your granddad again?
Yeah. Followed us, just walked in ahead of us, like, move out the way, smashing everything up. we were sat watching TV in our living room. My parents said, right, we're knackered, because they were doing everything because I was just a kid. So they'd done the driving, the packing, the moving and everything. So they were like, we're going to bed. So I was like, I'm going to stay up for a bit. So I was watching TV and I fell asleep in the living room. And for my age, the paranormal scared me more than anything.
Oh, okay.
Now it's obviously an interest, but back then it was quite a scary thing for me. And my parents came down the next day and found me, and they were like, we can't believe you fell asleep on the floor. Like, we did not expect you to do that. Like, in a new house, in the dark, in a graveyard. And I was just like, well, it was fine.
That's weird.
Never gave me any uneasy feelings or anything.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much I could stay there on my own overnight.
Oh, there's a scary story I forgot. Me and my wife, we stayed there for a week while my mum and dad went away, and we were staying to look after the dog. And we were in bed in the upstairs, and we heard a huge bang in the house, and our front door is bolted shut. We have two doors. The front one was bolted, the second one was locked. You can't access the back garden. So it was just me and my wife in bed about 11 o'clock at night, heard a huge bang in the house, like ridiculously loud, not just like off in the distance. It was like as if it was coming up the stairs kind of thing, like a massive bang. And I remember seeing this video once about some guy that started on another guy, and the second guy was like, oh yeah, come on then. The first guy pulled his trousers down, which then intimidated the second guy, and he ran away. So what I did was, stark naked, jumped out of bed, ran downstairs. Because I thought, if I come face to face with someone, they're going to be shocked. The first thing they see is
Especially if it was your granddad.
I just felt bad about the kitchen, so I'm just thinking, what the hell? I ran downstairs. Can you imagine running into a 6'3" naked hairy man? You'd think Bigfoot's in there, wouldn't you? But yeah, there was absolutely nothing in the house, and the dog was in our bedroom, so not as if he could have banged anything.
So you never found the source?
Never found the source at all. No, pesky ghost took our mayo. Never found the source.
Ba-dum-tsh. Oh God.
That funny story that I said earlier.
Oh yes.
Was we were in what became my bedroom, which was my brother's bedroom at the time, when the ghost people came round. So I was about 13, 14. I can't remember which one. We were sat in the bedroom, and like I said to you, back then, the paranormal world sort of, scared me more than anything. Like, well, I wasn't terrified, but like, it was a bit more of a fear-inducing. And I remember sat on the bed with this woman, and I was like, so there are a lot of ghosts around here? And she was like, yeah, there's a fair amount. She's like, but they're not bad. And I was like, would they do anything to scare us or anything like that? She's like, I can ask them to move on if you want. And I was like, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. But thinking back now, like, of course I want them to move on. Like, if there's some kind of afterlife, whether it be the one that religious texts talk about or anything else, that is beyond this existence, of course I want them to go there. I don't want them to walk around my house for eternity. Like, that's awful.
Banging into things, seeing your knob.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, at the time, in my bedroom, apparently there was a builder who died in there during World War I when the roof caved in during a bombing or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she said he died in my room, right? And come to think of it now, me being 12, turning 13, 14, can you imagine this poor ghost sat in the corner of my bedroom just thinking, oh, another day in this goddamn room, right? I guess I better build these bricks again that I'm going to have to redo tomorrow. And he's just trying to make conversation with me because he's bored. And he turns around and he's like, oh, what you been doing? Oh, my God, he's at it again. What do 14-year-olds generally get up to in their own personal time? And this poor ghost... This poor ghost is in the corner like, for God's sake, can he not leave it alone for 2 minutes? He's just like, oh man, just sat there dead angry at me, just like if any of the ghosts is going to scare me, it's going to be him, innit? Trying to scare me out of it.
And yeah, and he's like, you should have just let me move on. It's like it's actually the torture is for him.
Yeah. Yeah, this is his hell. That poor ghost woman sat there like, would you like me to ask him to move on? He's there like, yes, please. Iain, say yes,
Not
say
just
yes.
like, it's fine.
No, it's fine, I'll have them, don't worry.
She probably just hears this, no.
Yeah. Well, she could probably hear it, but she's just laughing at it.
Oh, poor lad. So was there anything else that happened?
There's a fair amount of stuff. I mean, my CD player used to turn itself on at 3 a.m. See, I'm one of these people, like I said last time, we're open-minded skeptics.
Yes.
So I always try and think of the explanation that it could have been. So if I see something that happens, I'm not just like, that was a ghost, definite, there's your proof. I always try and think to myself, what could it have been? But I know fine well, I used to put my CD player on volume 3. Because that was the volume that I always used to have that CD player on. And I did it for years. So I put it on volume 3, put the CD remote control down by my bed on the floor.
Yeah.
And then go to sleep. and I'd always fall asleep before the album finished. And then sometimes at about 3, 4 in the morning, I'd just wake up with it just blaring.
Oh, right. So, like, volume's got,
Yeah, max volume. And back then, it wasn't like touchscreen, so there couldn't have been dust on it or anything like that. It could have literally only been you press play on the CD player, you turn the volume up with a physical button, or you do the same on the remote. So that was weird. My drum kit always used to... The cymbals, you just hear it was like something dropping on them, like a little pebble. Used to hear that in the middle of the night. My brother heard that a lot of times. And dropping marbles and marble sounds and stones and things as a sign of poltergeist activity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, okay. Do you think, I mean, this is a totally separate topic now, this could be a rabbit hole, but is that the poltergeist that is creating that sound to make you aware that it's there, or...
Possibly.
Does anyone really know? Oh, yeah.
I spoke to you in the past about my thought on that, but I think that's probably something for another day.
Yeah.
Because that'll go on for a long time, and I'll have to try and word it. In my brother's room, apparently there used to be an accountant that worked in there.
Okay.
And
like a typewriter thing?
Yeah. So back in them days, obviously, if you make a mistake, it's rip the paper out, scrumple it up, chuck it in the bin. And my brother used to hear the noise of that, so and then the crumple of the paper.
Oh, really?
And the throw, yeah.
Oh, that's quite like that. Probably less so for him. He's trying to get to sleep and he's just...
I think he listened to music as well, so he just crank it up. He probably his controller probably controlled my CD player.
We'll just completely disprove all of this now.
Yeah. That's it. Ghosts don't exist.
I mean, that is a lot to digest out of those stories. And to be honest, you're only just scratching the surface of things, really, because time has moved on, other things have happened. Yeah,
I'm sure the more I think about it, the more things will come to my mind, but that's all I can remember at the moment. Might do a part 2 if a lot more come to my mind.
Well, I do know for a fact, because you've told me a few things in the past, that where you live now, so the house that you've bought with your wife, that you live in with your 2 sons, have also had a few things happen there, haven't you?
Yeah, there's been some strange things happen here, like completely unexpectedly, to be honest, because I wouldn't have really... I mean, my house is actually older than my parents, but looking at my parents, it looks like it should be haunted.
Yeah.
But looking at my house just looks like a mid-terrace house.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, there is some strange things that's going on here. The weirdest of which is my wife.
What, generally?
Yep, just her. She is something paranormal, let me tell you. When she was pregnant with our second son, we were laid in bed. She woke up the next morning and she said, "Ian, I saw something on the ceiling last night."
Oh, this is creepy, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, "You what?" And she's like, "I saw something on the ceiling." And where we lay in our bed, it was towards the foot of the bed, but off to the right, she said. And she said it was something human-like, human-shaped, but stuck to the ceiling with its hands and feet, like quite close into the ceiling, looking at her. And she said it looked like... She said the shape of its head was like that of a Dorito. So all I can imagine is like triangular.
Yeah.
And she said it had glowing eyes and it was just staring at her.
See, that's awful.
Well, the creepiest thing about it is that my wife, she chooses to ignore the paranormal because it does still terrify her. And she doesn't like it at all. If she had have seen something like that, she would have screamed, but she's adamant she saw it. She doesn't have any other these types of dreams, but she said she woke up, she felt like there was something watching her, she rolled over, looked at it, thought, yep, that's happening, just rolled over and went back to sleep. And I was like, why didn't you wake me? I've been searching for this kind of proof my entire life. And I could have seen it on my own ceiling. She saw it twice more, once above me and once on her side of the bedroom.
So was it effectively like stuck to the ceiling then?
Yeah, if you imagine like Spider-Man.
Oh, that's weird, isn't it? Like some sort of goblin grotesque thing.
The way she said the shape of the head, that made me think alien.
Right.
Also, alien greys have this purported power to be able to subdue the victim, so they can look at you and through sort of telekinesis, hypnosis kind of thing, make you docile and quiet.
So you wouldn't react.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be another possible explanation as to why my wife didn't go, holy shit, alien on the ceiling.
Ian. So, obviously, this is only in her experience, isn't it? Currently, that is only from your wife.
Correct.
So, assuming that what she saw was real, what would you think it is? What you've had time to digest this and lean in some way. If it was real, what do you think it would more likely be?
Well, through my learnings, I mean, I don't actively sort of go out and read books to learn on the topics because I prefer podcasts and things like that and stuff. But through what I have learned is like demons and that sort of thing like to sort of look for unborn children. Apparently in Eastern cultures, there's like when the baby in utero hits a certain age, that is when the spirit then enters
the child.
Enters the child, yeah. That's when the soul comes into the child. So these demons like to sort of hang around and wait until that happens so that they can get in, because they sort of want to experience humanity and stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
So I don't know if it was just maybe hanging about. Maybe it knew my second born was going to be a bit more of a handful. So it was just like, I ain't going near that. Or maybe it did happen and that's why he is a handful.
Yeah, maybe.
So it could be a demon, could be an alien. Probably more demon, because aliens look like aliens, don't they? Not demons.
Yeah. Out of everything you told me, that's probably the creepiest, because I can sort of just imagine that, and that's not very nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, even it made me sort of sit here with my eyes open for a few minutes or something before I went to sleep when she told me about it.
What was that, like the next day or something?
Well, yeah, she told me about it the next morning, and then, for like the next couple of nights, I just imagine like rolling over and seeing that myself, because it'd be like, I'd want to run toward it to be like, hey, buddy, nice to meet you, tell me all about it, but I'd also want to be like,
the latter would be me.
Yeah. Well, why don't you come and stay in my house, and next time it happens, we'll hit it with both angles.
Yeah,
like
that's
I'll
true.
be like, hey, buddy, and you'd be like,
But what if it follows you and you deposit it here at my house?
That's my plan.
Oh, okay. I'd say, again, another plan I don't like.
Sorry, all my plans involve handing you over to paranormal entities.
Palming off all the nonsense to me.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I get to interrogate it and meet it and then just give it to you to do it.
For eternity. Have you met this guy, Jordan? He's got so much following him.
Yeah, you'll fit right in. Some other things that have happened around this house is there's been crashes and bangs and stuff, and another thing that's synonymous with poltergeist activity is like hearing from another room. Like, say I'll be sat in my bedroom and I'll hear from the bathroom like crashes, and like as if like everything's being thrown around, being torn off the wall, the whole place is being trashed, and then I'll go in and nothing's out of place. And I've heard things like that in my house, like so strange. I know it's actually in this house as well, because my youngest's room is like extended from the house. Mm-hmm. So if there's any noise from either side, like so neighbours, it wouldn't come through his room.
Yes.
But when these noises happen, they come through his monitor as well.
Yeah, so you know that it's not likely going to be next door.
Yeah, it's more likely because I can hear it in the house and it's coming through his monitor. So, like, I'll be sat in my living room, and then from somewhere in the house, it sounds like it's a kitchen, but I can see my kitchen from my living room. So, like, I'll just hear, imagine, like, a shelf of pots and pans and cutlery.
Just falling.
Yeah, just imagine that whole thing just falling, just, like, crashing and bouncing off things and rattling around. And I'll go and investigate, and there's nothing out of place.
So, I remember a time when you told me that had happened to you quite recently. And what sort of time of day was it when you experienced that?
It's always nighttime.
Okay.
So, generally, I go...
So, were you asleep, or...?
No, I was awake.
Right.
Yeah, I get home from work quite late. So, generally, I like to sit up for an hour or two to just sort of unwind and just be on my own kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's usually about 11:30, 12, 1 in the morning, that kind of time. And one actually happened the other day that my wife actually witnessed, because I tell her about these things and she goes, yeah, whatever. The other night we were both sat downstairs. We heard a massive bang. We heard a massive noise, and it came through the monitor as well. So we thought it was our youngest. We thought he'd fallen out of his crib or something like that.
And both of you had heard this?
Both of us heard it, yeah. We both kind of looked at each other and was like, that was the baby's room, and bolted upstairs. So we went into his room. There was nothing out of place. So we were like, that's weird. So we checked the eldest room, nothing. Checked our bedroom, nothing out of place. Nothing out of place anywhere. Definitely came from upstairs. So we were looking around. And all of a sudden I heard my wife go, Iain, I found it. So, I really curiously went in to see what was happening. And in the bathroom, there was a bath toy stuck to the wall, which is a duck about a foot tall, and you put water in the head and it comes out the beak and spins a water wheel.
Okay.
That had unstuck itself from the wall, which isn't paranormal in its own right, fair enough, but it was in the toilet.
Which is not anywhere near.
Well, I mean, it's about a metre away.
It's not very likely, even if it bounced off.
I mean, even if it used the bath as a ramp, it wouldn't have had enough speed to get up the other side, out, and then over. So we were just like, how the hell did that happen?
Because that is literally just next door to...
our littlest room, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was real strange.
I know that something that has excited me is you have actually caught potentially an EVP, haven't you?
I have caught an EVP, yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, an EVP is electronic voice phenomena, which is where you can supposedly hear the voices of spirits or whatever around you through electronic devices, even though you can't hear them with your naked ear. But yeah, so I was coming upstairs, and my wife is going to hate me for this, but I was trying to catch her snoring, because every time in the morning I tell her, you were snoring last night, she's like, no, I wasn't, I don't snore. So I was going to catch her on video snoring. So I came upstairs, dead quietly, from about 4 meters from our bedroom, started recording, walked to the bedroom, but then by the time I opened the door, she'd stopped. But then I listened back to it, and in the background, bear in mind, we only had one son at this time, and he was upstairs. There was only 2 other people in the house, which was me and my wife. Everything else was quiet. I was trying to be as quiet as possible so as not to wake her up or disturb her from her big old loud snoring. But just to rub it in.
Yeah, if you're listening to this.
She won't listen to this. So in the background, I mean, I can't really make out if it's supposed to be trying to say something. I know in all these EVPs you always hear something like blah, 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 and then what it says in subtitles is I'm a ghost, I'm actually real, or something like that. So
and you make it fit, don't you?
yeah, it's like a pareidolia kind of thing, but I can't hear anything in this one. But it just kind of sounds like someone in the background. It sounds like a female voice, I know that much, going like me. And it's really strange. And then not until about maybe a year later, when we were talking about doing the podcast, I put it into iMovie to extract the sound. And I put it into my dirty GarageBand and cranked the volume right up. And when I walk into my bedroom in the video, I can hear something growling in the background.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, and I mean, to listen to it, normally, you probably wouldn't hear it. So I think what I'll do is I'll insert the sound.
Yes.
So you can hear it at home, and you can tell me what you think yourself.
That'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah.
So, shall we let them hear it now?
Absolutely, yeah, let's do it.
And once again. Very odd. Not sure what to make of that.
Me neither, but every single time I listen to it, it literally makes me shiver, because I was the one in the video.
And heating is expensive now, isn't it? So, you know.
Absolutely.
Soften. Not on as much as well.
Yeah, I'm just permanently shivering.
You did also mention something about your motion sensors.
Oh, yeah, the motion sensor. Right, so where I captured that EVP. So at the top of my stairs is where I caught it, and that is where the range of the motion sensor goes as far as. So I was just sat in my living room, and my motion sensor went off about 10 o'clock. And it's done it a few times, so this time I thought I'm going to check it, see what's going on. My wife's in bed, she's happily asleep, and the motion sensor just goes off. It did it twice the other night, it did it once yesterday, and what I'm thinking is it's catching something. There's nothing, because every time I open the door, I look in the hallway towards the door, thinking, oh, what's there? Nothing. But it must be up the top of the stairs where I caught that EVP, so I'm not going to look, because now I've figured it out, I'm terrified.
And I really want to get you a camera that will capture these things so that you can actually review it, but I know that your wife isn't really interested in the idea, because she just doesn't want to know. Yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
Absolutely. I did say to her, let's get a camera and see what it is, and she said, over my dead body. And I was like, fair enough, we'll add you to the ghosts.
And you can set the motion sensor off. It's funny, I can't say that I've really ever had many experiences myself, at least nothing to your degree. I mean, maybe occasionally the odd kind of thing happens, but I think I am maybe slightly more sceptical than you, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And, or maybe I just don't kind of listen out for these things as much, but...
Possibly.
I do find it fascinating, though.
Absolutely, yeah, incredibly.
It does make you think, doesn't it? I mean, there are so many people in the world that apparently have vast amounts of experiences that are out of the norm,
yep.
as we know of, and it does make you think that surely some of those must be telling the truth. The laws of averages, that must be the case.
Absolutely. I mean, it'd be dead easy to make a story up.
Yes.
You know, to try and sell it, you know, get some book sales or whatever, maybe get a film made about it. But there must be at least, even if just one person out there has had a true experience, then that is surely insane and amazing and mind-blowing. It just depends what that experience is. I mean, it could be from one extreme to the other, couldn't it? A pan hit me in the head to I was abducted by aliens and taken to Venus. It could be one or the other.
I mean, some poor bugger that it happened to them on the same night.
Yeah.
A pan hit me on the head and I woke up in Venus.
That's what's going to happen to you when I meet the aliens.
I still don't like the plan.
It's still going to happen. Right, but I think that about wraps up all my paranormal experiences. But that means that we now get to the best part of the show, because I, along with the audience at home, get to hear about Jordan's spooky viewings, and I cannot wait to hear it. Jordan, please set the scene. Tell us where it all began.
I mean, you might be severely disappointed, really, but I've never...
Should we have opened with you?
Yeah. No, so I've never thought of an explanation for it. Okay. And like I've just told you a moment ago, I don't try and attach paranormal explanation to things, but I've never been able to work it out. And I've never really told anyone. I'm pretty certain I've never told you, actually.
Tell me, please.
So this involves my late grandma. And for everyone listening, essentially she was my guardian. So when I was pre-teenage years, really, my mum and dad split. I mean, thankfully now they're good friends and, you know, there's no hard feelings, but they didn't really talk to each other and it was a bit of an awkward time. And my mum was really busy working, so she was constantly at work. So basically, I was under the care of my grandma and granddad, effectively, and they kind of brought me up,
right,
in a way. So at this point, my granddad had passed, and my grandma was sort of the one that looked after me.
Yep. And
we had a really great relationship, like lovely rapport and always having a joke and a laugh. And this was when I was getting into doing card magic.
Lovely.
So she used to be the person I would experiment tricks with.
Right, yeah.
Which was really nice. And, you know, I mean, she'd always say really nice things, but, I mean, that was kind of her duty. So whether it was just appalling and she was just like, oh, yeah, that's really nice. That's really good, dear.
Well, you still suck now, so I dare say she did.
That's true.
I jest. Sorry, carry on.
That's true. So it became a thing because I'd done all these kind of card tricks to her over the years that she, whenever I said to her, can you name a card? A random card. She'd always say the same one, which happened to be her favourite.
Right.
And that card was the Seven of Diamonds.
Of course.
And the reason that I mention that is because it became a little bit of a thing where I could preempt it. So I could preempt it and then, you know, I could make my amazing things happen. And again, she might have just been really humouring me, bless her. But she eventually passed and it was really sad. And many years later, I mean, I was mid-teenage years at this point, and we had a TV that was on this, I mean, a standard TV stand, really, with DVDs that were kind of vertically up along the side with a little skybox in between.
Cool.
And I remember going to get a DVD out, and I opened the case, and inside was a Seven of Diamonds.
Oh, no way.
And I don't recall ever putting that in there.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a reason why it would be in there, and I kind of took it as a little bit of a, you know, I'm kind of watching over you, like hello kind of thing. Yeah. I don't really have an explanation to that. It could be that maybe I had planted it in there to do it as a trick and then forgot about it.
Possibly.
That's certainly a possibility, but I genuinely don't remember because I think I would remember sticking a card in a DVD case.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, you'd have a deck which you knew a Seven of Diamonds would be missing from.
That's true, actually, yeah.
And that'd drive me wild.
So yeah, I don't really have a rhyme or reason for why that happened, but yeah, so that was kind of my paranormal experience, really.
Oh, that's really sweet.
But it's, yeah, I kind of took it as that, and yeah, I've never really told anyone, but now everyone knows.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's a lovely story.
My little paranormal debut.
Definitely two ends of the spectrum in it, from one big hairy naked guy running after ghosts to a delightful Seven of Diamonds sent from the afterworld.
That's
very nice.
Imagine if it was from a really expensive deck, though.
Yeah, well, and she took it out of one of yours. This'll teach a little bastard.
Hopefully it might kick his ass into gear to get better.
Do some good tricks. Oh, that is very nice anyway. So Jordan, I thought after our discussion last week about lucid dreaming, I thought I would tell you something. I thought I'd save it for the podcast because...
Oh, yeah. To do with the kind of clock thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't want to ruin the surprise and have you have to hear the story again. So I thought I'd save it and tell everyone at home at the same time. But it is to do, like you say, with asking of the time thing.
Yeah.
But I think I might have to give a little bit of backstory first, just to explain how my lucid dreaming, in inverted commas, works, if that makes sense. So when I go to bed and I'm trying to relax, because I'm terrible at falling asleep, if I don't focus on something or do something, I'll just think, because I listen to music, so I count time signatures and drum along and stuff like that. So I have to sit myself down, and what I do is I lay on my back so I'm comfortable. I try my hardest not to move. I get myself comfortable and warm. I clear my mind so I'm not thinking of anything. What I used to like to imagine was like walking into a cinema and sitting down on my own, looking at the screen, but it was black, and then just like kind of letting the sides crop out, if that makes sense. So I'm only looking at the black screen. So that's what my mind is focused on, is just emptiness. So I'll watch this black screen, I'll shut my eyes, and I'll just let my mind follow whatever string or, whatever appears.
Yes.
I won't think, oh, that looks like this, and I'll start thinking about that. I'll just let it evolve into whatever it is.
Interesting. You let your mind paint.
Exactly, yeah. I'll just let my mind go for it, and I'll just sort of go along for the ride. And that way I stay still, I relax, and it's during that I can feel my body then relax. So, power down. So I know I'm asleep. I remember knowing I'm asleep, and then I'll be in some dream world and something will be happening. But I mean, even if I fall asleep and then wake up an hour later, I'll remember that I was doing it, but I'll never remember what the dream was.
Right.
But I remember what this was specifically because we were talking about it last time.
Okay. I'm excited for this.
So what happened was I got to bed, I laid down, cleared my mind, and I started just seeing whatever was happening. And what popped up was a woman, sort of like a worker. I think it was a Best Buy.
Okay.
The American shop. I don't know why.
Like customer service person.
Yeah, like a greeter kind of thing. All of my dreams as well, I have to add, is for some reason it's always dark skies. Really leaden skies, really low, really cloudy and dark, and that's because that's the kind of atmosphere that I enjoy, I guess. Okay. But I mean, it's never scary, it's just kind of like sort of creepy, ominous, like, oh, this is interesting feel.
Is it just those black clouds that follow you around everywhere?
Yeah. But it was outside in a forest with a gravel floor. And this Best Buy was in the background, like quite close, but it was to my left, and this greeter was to my right. And she walked up to me with her hands sort of clenched, like in front of her. And she walked up to me and she was like, "Hi, how can I help you?" kind of thing. I can't actually remember any speech, but I got the impression that this is what was happening. And I kind of like walked up to her and I was like looking around, like exploring my surroundings. And she was like, "How can I help you? Is there anything I can take you to?" And I remember thinking, "Oh, the lucid dreaming thing. I'll ask her the time." So I was like, "Yeah." I just wondered if you could tell me the time, please. And like her face just like dropped. Like she looked at me as if she was like angry.
Yeah, right.
Like she's like, I'm trying to think, like her face, her head kind of like extended, like her chin went down and her eyes, everything, like her facial features moved with it.
Just drooped.
Yeah, not like in a melty way, but like in a demonic sort of way.
Ugh.
If that makes sense. So she was like slowly walking towards me, kind of fidgeting with her fingers, being like, "Why did you ask me that?
Oh, that's awful.
Why did you say that?" And I was like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It's fine." She was like, "No, I need to know. Why did you ask me about that?" And like getting closer to me, like being really sort of like...
So is it, like I said, that kind of nightmarish feeling of like sinister?
It was kind of strange, but I mean, I wasn't scared. I was just like, this is interesting, because I still knew I was sort of dreaming. But she kind of was walking up to me asking me that, and then somebody from the shop came and took me like by the hand or like by the arm and dragged me in. So they dragged me into the shop. But when I got into the shop, it was like a shopping centre.
Okay, like a shopping mall, yeah.
Yeah, and it had like office buildings and stuff like that with big glass fronts and stuff like that. So there was people there, and everyone was like, as I walked in, it's like this person was trying to lead me through, but they were dragging me, and then everyone who was in the shop was stopping and like looking at me.
Right.
So I was like looking around like, okay, right, what's going on?
Almost like you were being made an example of.
No. Like I think it was like this person was trying to be like, "Come with me if you want to live," kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, get me out of there. And everyone was like...
the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. And everyone else was like, looking, as I was walking in, everyone else was looking at me like, that's the guy. You know, like, do you know what I mean? They were like, they dragged me through and then palmed me off to someone else. It's like they didn't want to be seen with the same person for too long because they'd know who they were looking for, kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's like they'd take me and then push me into the arms of someone else, and they'd be like, right, come on then. And they'd take me out, and then it was then at that point I lose memory.
Wow. So, yeah. Do you think there's something in that then?
Right, that's the thing. I don't know if it's literally because we were talking about it and that's what my brain expected to happen, or if it's because that what would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure for the reasoning for it, but that is my experience.
That's really interesting. I quite like that that's happened.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
But I want to go to bed with the expectation that something good will happen if I do it again.
And see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can test the theory. So if I go to bed thinking, if I ask the time, someone's going to give me a ginormous ice cream sundae. You know, and I'll go to bed and do the same and see if that happens, and then I'll be able to let you know.
Or 100 sweet wrappers.
Oh, yeah. 100 crunchies.
100 crunchies.
Get in my mouth.
Yes. I'm pleased you told me about that.
Yeah.
If that happens again, do inform us as the general populace. That would be good.
I shall do. I most definitely shall. That about brings us to the end of today's episode. And we also have some news. We now have socials. Yay! You can look us up now on Twitter at 2guyswhatsup. That's 2 spelled TWO, guys what's up. Or just email us at 2guyswhatsup@gmail.com. But the link will be in the description of this. So if you'd like to drop us an email with any of your own personal paranormal experiences that you've had, or you just want to say hi, then please feel free to email us or find us on Twitter. I must say email is the best way to get in touch with us though, because I don't use Twitter. I don't know how to. I'm very old. But my emails are always linked to my phone. So if you want to get in touch with us, then just shoot us one over.
To be honest though, I use Twitter quite a lot. So if you want to use Twitter, use it. I'll see it at least.
If you want to talk to me, use the emails. If you want to talk to Jordan, use the Twitter.
Or if you don't want to talk to either of us, use neither.
Yeah. We are also on Instagram, so if you might get lucky and see our disgusting mugs at some point on there, or our super high-tech setup.
Oh yeah, this home studio setup that is to die for.
My iPad is currently sat on a bath board, so it's supposed to sit across your bath so you can have your iPad on it and the soap and a drink and stuff like that.
I'm going to get Iain to take a picture of this setup to put on Instagram, so if you are on Instagram, check that out.
Please don't. Oh, man, there's so many wires everywhere. But yes, any way you would like to get in touch with us, please feel free to. We always have our socials open on our phone, and we'll always try and reply to you all. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget to give us a message. We'd love to hear from you all, and we will catch you all next week. See you later.
Goodbye.